all experience synchronicity of some type on a regular basis, but most humans either do not recognize it, or they just blow it off as bizarre coincidence. I have touched on synchronicity that I have experienced with specific numbers in previous videos, but synchronicity is not limited to just numbers. I have also experienced much synchronicity with animals. Sometimes it was with hawks, or other times with cardinals, and even blue jays. And they all have their own specific synchronistic meanings that correlate with that particular animal's attributes. I will mainly focus on 3 of the most extraordinary synchronistic moments I have experienced with cardinals, because they have been the highlight of the show for me. And one of the primary attributes of cardinals that correlate with my personal story is the fact that they are monogamous. They mate with one partner for life. So they represent a profound reunion, which I will expand on in future videos. The introduction of the synchronicity I experienced with these birds all began with this next short dream from March of 1995, which was then followed up by an almost unbelievable synchronistic moment. In the dream, I had a female cardinal perched on my finger. We were communicating, which seemed completely natural and normal. I asked the cardinal if it liked people, and it replied, "Yes, I do like people, but I don't like the little ones so much. They throw rocks at me." And as the bird spoke those words, it also sent me a telepathic image of the moment it was referring to. I saw a group of young children throwing rocks at it as it was perched in a tree. It quickly flew off out of fear and has been especially afraid of what it perceives as little people ever since. And then it got very interesting the following day. I was working on a small interior construction job for a customer. I walked outside to get something from the cab of my truck, and I was stooped down behind my open driver's side door when I suddenly heard a loud thump. My first thought was that my helper had come up and thrown a snowball at my truck. I glanced up, but I did not see anyone. And it was at that moment when, for some unconscious reason, I recalled the dream with the female cardinal that I just had on the previous night. And I thought to myself, no, it couldn't be. I walked around to the passenger side of the vehicle and was dumbfounded to see a female cardinal lying there on the driveway, feet up. Obviously, it had flown into my closed passenger side window head on. I picked the little guy up and noticed there were no signs of life. I was sure the poor thing had broken its neck and had died. I then began to stroke its chest when I suddenly noticed its little eyes twitch. Several seconds later, the eyes twitched again. And then I realized it was breathing, and I could feel its little heart beating. Suddenly, it came conscious and pounced up on my finger. And it was at that moment when my helper came walking outside to see me standing there with a cardinal perched on my finger. I recall him saying something to the effect of, "Whoa, looks like we got a bird whisperer here." The bird then flew away. This was how the universe introduced me to a very profound change coming up in my life very soon. And this upcoming change will be accompanied by some of the most astounding synchronicity involving cardinals that I have ever had the pleasure of witnessing. And it's important to note here that it was also at about this same time period when I began to see a particular woman showing up in the dreams, who I sensed something strangely familiar about. Fast forward to August 10th of 1996, which was when I came in physical contact with that woman. And that meeting triggered the synchronicity with Cardinals to intensify, leading me to understand that there was a clear connection between this meeting with the familiar-looking woman and the synchronicity I was experiencing with these birds. What I did not understand yet was that I was about to enter into a new lifetime contract. I was on the cusp of some very big changes coming up in my life, and these profound synchronistic moments with Cardinals appeared to be introducing me to this transition. It was shortly after that first meeting with the familiar-looking woman when this second extraordinary cardinal encounter took place. It was a nice, warm summer morning, and I had my front door open. I was thinking about the mysteriously familiar woman that I had recently come in contact with. And it was at that same moment when a bright red male cardinal landed on the top of my front deck railing just outside my door. I thought the timing of this was curiously interesting, and I wondered if it might be synchronistic to my current thoughts. So I decided to put it to the test. I expressed a thought and projected it to the bird. If you are here as a synchronistic signpost, hop down off the railing and come to the threshold of my door. And I was pleasantly surprised when the bird instantly responded to my request. It flew down off of the railing, hobbled over to the threshold of my open door, and just stood there, chirping at me as if it was trying to tell me something. Okay, I thought. Well, it doesn't get any clearer than that. It was several weeks later when I experienced this third extraordinary moment. I was standing at my back open door when a male cardinal landed on the top of my garden picket fence no more than 10 feet away from me, which is way out of character for any bird. It just stood there, chirping loudly, again as if it were trying to tell me something. During that time period, I was documenting my journals on a mini cassette recorder. And realizing just how unusual this moment was, I wanted documented proof of this situation. I rushed to my living room to get my recorder, and fortunately, when I returned, the bird was still there, still chirping loudly. I set the recorder to record for a minute or so, thinking that I now had my proof. I then walked back into my living room, sat down on my couch, and proceeded to play back that proof. And I suddenly became very confused when I heard no sound of a nearby chirping cardinal. I could hear other birds in the background, including distant cardinals, but there was no sound of a loud chirping cardinal standing no more than 10 feet away from me. It was as if there was nothing there. But my eyes and my ears don't lie. So why didn't I hear anything on tape? After pondering this anomaly for a short time, I eventually had to wonder to myself, was there really a physical bird there? Or was it something else? Something not from this physical world? It was during that same time period when a cardinal told me in a dream, "I will be with you until the end of your story." And I now understand the bird was referring to the end of my journey, or to the conclusion of my new lifetime contract that all began in the summer of 1996. A new contract that has been leading me to a profound reunion, and to my new home, with this transition to the new earth. I have been very fortunate to have experienced many similar miraculous moments following the entrance of my new contract. And it is not my intent to stroke my own ego here by sharing these stories on my channel. My only intent is to spread sparks of inspiration. I am no different than anyone else, and if I can evolve to experience miraculous moments like these, then so can you. I'm sure there are many other lightworkers out there on a similar path during this time of profound change. Are you one of them?